Just one moment of mindfulness can heal. In a quiet, forgotten village, nestled between ancient hills and whispering forests, lived a boy named Liam. His life was as humble as the old wooden house he shared with his blind grandmother, Eloise. Each day, Liam would guide her hand through the narrow dirt paths, fetch water from the well, and warm, simple meals over a crackling fire. Though poor in possessions, they were rich in the unspoken tenderness that flowed between them. But poverty wears on a young heart. Liam, growing older, felt the weight of hunger, the coldness of tattered clothes, the sting of children's laughter when they mocked his shabby appearance. Every day he watched boys his age run free, chasing dreams, while he stayed behind, tethered by duty. A storm brewed inside him, silent at first, then raging. One afternoon, after being jeered again by boys in the village square, Liam returned home, his fists clenched, his heart ablaze with bitterness. As his grandmother reached out with trembling hands, her blind eyes searching for him, he snapped, "I wish you weren't here," he shouted, the words spilling out like poison. "I wish I were free like everyone else. If you weren't alive, maybe I could finally live my life." The moment the words left his lips, silence fell, heavier than any storm. Eloise's hands, mid-air, froze. Her frail face crumbled, not with anger, but with a sorrow so profound that even the walls seemed to absorb it. She didn't scold him. She didn't cry. She only smiled, faintly, as if she had been expecting this moment all along. That night, rain wept from the heavens. Thunder rolled over the hills as Liam, exhausted from his rage, slept a restless sleep. By morning, he woke to a house too silent, too empty. On the old table lay a worn piece of parchment, written in shaky handwriting. "My beloved Liam, if my being here burdens your soul, I shall leave. Know that loving you has been my greatest joy. May the winds guide you to freedom, and may your heart one day find peace." A single bead, a teardrop, had blurred part of the ink. Liam's heart seized in his chest. He dashed outside, the rain washing over him, calling out her name into the gray dawn. No answer, only the mournful cry of the wind. The villagers said they had seen an old woman walking barefoot toward the woods before dawn, carrying nothing but a small bundle. Liam ran for hours through the forest trails, shouting, searching, slipping on mud, scraping his knees. But Eloise had vanished into the embrace of the storm. Days passed, then weeks. The world, once filled with her gentle presence, now felt hollow and vast. Guilt gnawed at him, a relentless, unseen beast. Every creak of the house, every scent of stewed herbs, every crackling fire that sputtered without her. It all screamed her name. Liam realized, with a pain deeper than any wound, that love, once scorned, becomes a ghost that haunts the soul. He sat before the fireplace, night after night, whispering apologies into the flames. But flames cannot carry words back to the living. They only consume. At the village well, women gossiped about a strange curse that had befallen Liam's house. Crops failed. Animals fell ill. "Bad karma," an old man muttered. "Ungrateful boy," hissed another, and perhaps, deep inside, Liam agreed. One evening, as he traced his grandmother's worn walking stick with his fingers, he asked himself, was freedom ever worth this kind of loneliness? He knew the answer. Freedom gained by betrayal was a prison of its own making. A single careless moment, a single thoughtless word had unleashed a chain of sorrow he could never undo. But worse than the punishment of the villagers, worse even than his own guilt, was the unbearable silence of her absence. Liam became a shadow of himself, wandering aimlessly, weighed down by invisible chains. He no longer looked up at the sky. He no longer sang while fetching water. He no longer laughed. The boy who once dreamed of freedom had, in truth, imprisoned himself in a dungeon deeper than any cage. The dungeon of remorse. Yet even in his despair, a small, stubborn spark of hope remained. The hope that somewhere, somehow, he could still atone. That perhaps if he could find her, if he could kneel before her and beg forgiveness, he could mend what had been broken. But how do you find someone who has disappeared into the mist? How do you ask forgiveness from a love you took for granted? Liam did not know. He only knew he had to try. And so, with the first light of spring, Liam packed a small bag and set out into the world, not chasing freedom anymore, but chasing redemption. In the end, he realized, the greatest journey is not one that crosses mountains or oceans. It is the journey from arrogance to humility, from selfishness to gratitude, from anger to love. And sometimes, that journey begins with a single, heartbreaking moment. A moment when you realize you had everything and lost it by your own hand. As Liam disappeared beyond the hills, a question echoed in the empty village. Have you ever, even once, hurt someone who loved you more than life itself? And if so, will you find the courage to make it right before it's too late? Seasons passed, and Liam wandered from village to village, carrying only a small satchel and a heart heavy with regret. Gone was the boy who once dreamed of freedom. In his place was a young man, hollow-eyed, whose every step was weighed down by invisible sorrow. He worked in fields for meager coins. He slept beneath trees, under a quilt of stars. He spoke little, laughed even less. People saw a quiet, broken youth, but none could see the war raging within him. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, Liam stumbled upon a small monastery perched atop a hill, embraced by fields of wild lavender. Its bell tower rose silently into the sky, untouched by the noise of the world. Drawn by something he couldn't name, Liam climbed the stone steps, each footfall echoing against the ancient walls. At the gate, he collapsed, body trembling from exhaustion, mind frayed from guilt. A kind old monk named Brother Samuel found him there, a bundle of torn clothes and shattered spirit. Without a word, Brother Samuel lifted him gently, like a father would a fallen child, and carried him inside. When Liam woke, he found himself lying on a simple mat, the scent of herbs and incense filling the cool air. Brother Samuel sat nearby, hands folded, eyes soft with understanding. "You have been carrying a great weight," the monk said, voice low and calm. Liam broke down. All the words he had buried inside, the anger, the shame, the sorrow, spilled out in great, heaving sobs. He confessed everything, how he had cursed his grandmother, how she had left, how he had searched, begged, wept, but found nothing. Brother Samuel listened without judgment, only nodding gently, as if he had heard 1,000 such stories before. When the silence finally settled, the monk spoke. "There is a great river," he said, "and once a man tried to dam it with stones. But no matter how many stones he threw, the water found its way around them. Your guilt is like those stones, Liam. Heavy, stubborn, but in truth, powerless to stop the flow of life." Liam looked up, his eyes rimmed with despair. "How can I ever be forgiven?" he whispered. Brother Samuel smiled, not with pity, but with deep compassion. "Forgiveness is not given," he said. "It is found. And it begins with a single moment of mindfulness." "A single moment?" Liam echoed, disbelieving. "Yes," the monk said. One breath taken with pure regret and pure love can heal years of suffering. You must sit. You must breathe. You must see yourself not as a monster, but as a wounded soul trying to find his way home. Liam closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he stopped running from his pain. He allowed it to rise, to swell inside his chest. Not to drown him, but to be seen, fully. With trembling hands, he inhaled. He thought of Eloise's warm hands guiding his small fingers, of her voice, singing lullabies, of the countless nights she had gone hungry to feed him. A sob tore from his throat, but he stayed with the breath. Brother Samuel whispered, "Let your heart break fully, Liam. Only a broken heart can be filled anew." That night, by the light of a flickering candle, Liam meditated for the first time in his life. He wept, he trembled, but he stayed. Breath by breath, he walked through the fire of his own sorrow and emerged, raw but alive. In that fragile, trembling stillness, something extraordinary happened. The chains of his guilt loosened. Not vanished, not yet, but loosened, enough for him to glimpse a path forward, a path of redemption, not self-destruction. When dawn broke, Brother Samuel placed a hand on his shoulder. "Now," he said, smiling gently, "your true journey begins. Not to chase after the past, but to live each moment in remembrance, in gratitude, and in love. Only then will the seeds of your suffering bloom into the flowers of your awakening." Liam bowed low, tears streaming freely, his heart lighter than it had been in years. He was not free yet. He had much still to atone for. But for the first time, he understood. Healing does not come all at once. It comes breath by breath, moment by moment, each heartbeat an offering to the life we once took for granted. And so, with the sunrise painting the sky gold and rose, Liam began to serve at the monastery. He swept the floors, he tended the gardens, he listened to the prayers of the sick and the broken. Each act, no matter how small, he performed as if it were a sacred hymn to Eloise, a silent apology, a whispered thank you. Brother Samuel taught him the four noble truths: that suffering is inevitable, that attachment creates suffering, that there is a way out, and that mindfulness is the path that leads there. Mindfulness, Brother Samuel said, is not a grand gesture. It is a small, persistent flame, steady even when the winds of the world howl around you. Weeks turned into months, and slowly the stone walls around Liam's heart began to crumble. He found joy again, not in forgetting his past, but in honoring it, transforming it, letting it soften him rather than harden him. In the gardens, Liam would sometimes pause, close his eyes, and breathe deeply. One breath fully aware, fully present. In those moments, he felt Eloise beside him, her love not gone, but woven into the very fabric of his being. And a question began to form in his mind, a question that would guide his next steps. If a single moment of mindfulness could heal me, could it also lead me back to her? Summer had come. The fields surrounding the monastery burst into colors, sunflowers bowing their golden heads, the lavender whispering in the warm breeze, and yet, inside Liam's heart, a quiet longing still bloomed, the longing to see Eloise once more, to kneel before her, to pour out all the words his pride had once buried. Brother Samuel, noticing the sadness that still clung to the boy, called him to the garden one evening. "You have nurtured your heart with mindfulness," the old monk said, gently tending a rose bush as he spoke. "Now it is time to let that love flow outward." Liam's voice trembled. "But," I don't know where she is. I don't even know if she's still—" He could not finish the sentence. Brother Samuel placed a single hand over Liam's heart. "Trust," he said. "When the heart is pure, the universe conspires to reunite what was torn apart." A few days later, a traveling merchant came to the monastery to donate supplies. Over tea, he spoke casually about a healer, an old blind woman, who lived in a small village deep in the northern hills. "They say she treats the sick with herbs and prayers," the merchant said. "Some even claim she can heal wounds that doctors cannot." Liam's heart stopped. Blind, healer, the north. Without hesitation, he packed his few belongings and bowed deeply before Brother Samuel, who only smiled and whispered, "Go, my son. Walk gently, with a heart wide open." The journey was long and grueling. Liam walked for days, through rainstorms that soaked him to the bone, across rivers swollen with melted snow, over rocky paths that tore at his feet. But he did not complain. Every step, every blister, every ache, he welcomed it all, offering it silently for all the pain he had once caused. At last, one misty morning, he crested a hill and looked down upon a tiny village clustered around a weathered old temple. A group of children played by the temple gate, and among them, tending to a small herb garden, was a figure he would have recognized anywhere. Her back was bent, her hair whiter than snow, her movements slow but deliberate. Eloise, alive. Tears blurred Liam's vision. His knees buckled. For a long moment, he could only kneel in the mud, overwhelmed by gratitude too large for words. He approached slowly, each step a prayer. When he was only a few feet away, he spoke, voice trembling. "Grandmother, it's me. It's Liam." She turned her head slightly, her blind eyes searching the air. And then, something extraordinary happened. Without seeing, without touching, she smiled. That same faint, knowing smile she had given him the night he drove her away. "My boy," she whispered, as if she had been expecting him all along. Tears streamed down Liam's face. He dropped to his knees before her, pressing his forehead into the soil. "I'm sorry," he choked out. "I'm so sorry. I was blind, I was selfish, Eloise reached out with trembling hands, found his face, and cupped it with a tenderness undimmed by years of absence. "There is nothing to forgive," she said. "Love has no ledger. It only waits." Liam wept, not from guilt, but from the unbearable beauty of being loved even in his darkest hour. For a long time, they simply held each other, two broken souls stitched back together by grace. Later, sitting by the temple steps, Eloise shared her story. How she had wandered into the forest that stormy night, fully expecting to die. How a band of traveling monks had found her, cared for her, and brought her here. How she'd spent the last years healing others, offering the love she once gave only to Liam to anyone in need. "I was never angry with you," she said, smiling. "You gave me a chance to grow beyond the walls of our little home. You gave me the world, Liam." He could hardly believe her kindness. "But I hurt you," he said. She nodded softly. "Yes, and I hurt you too. We are human. We stumble, we fall, but it is never the fall that defines us, only the rising." Liam remembered Brother Samuel's words, "Only a broken heart can be filled anew." And in that moment, he understood. The real healing had never been about erasing the past. It was about transforming it, holding the wound tenderly, offering it to the light, and letting it become a doorway to deeper love. As the sun dipped low behind the hills, Liam took his grandmother's hand and promised, "From this moment on, I will live every breath with gratitude. I will serve, I will love, and I will never again take one single heartbeat for granted. And for the first time in many years, Eloise laughed, a sound like wind chimes dancing in the spring breeze. Together they watched the stars appear one by one, silent witnesses to a story of loss, redemption, and a love stronger than suffering. And to those who hear their story, a question still lingers in the night air. When someone loves you more than life itself, how many chances will you waste before you finally choose to love them back? And deeper still, is it ever too late to come home?